Okay, page 9 and 10 of your final review. Graph the function. So I'll tell you in class if one of your questions is in this format, just make sure you distribute that 2 real quick. Okay, so that'll be 2x plus 2 pi. And I'll even remind you during the test if that's the case. I'll remember to do that. All right, so we want to graph this guy. Couple things we want to know. We want to know what the period is. You don't really need that, but we can do it. So was it 2 pi divided by b? So 2 pi divided by 2 is pi. That works. That's a nice one. And the other thing we want to know is the amplitude. And the absolute value of -2 is just 2. Okay, the next thing we do is we want to find the beginning and the end. We know the period is 2 pi. So we go from 0, and we also set it equal to 2 pi. Okay, if we do a little math, we get 2x is equal to -2 pi. So x is equal to -pi. And over here we get 2x is equal to 0, so x is equal to 0. All right, let's see if we can graph this guy now. Looks like a lot of the action is happening on the left side of the Cartesian plane. So let's mark it accordingly. All right. And good. So we'll start here and we'll call that -pi. And we'll say that this is 0 here. And halfway between that is -pi over 2. So that's probably that is a -pi over 4, excuse me. And that's a -3 pi over 4 right there. So we found our quarter points and our half points. The other thing you want to realize is that this thing shifts up 1. So we're going to put a little mark here at 1. Okay, and we'll put in some dotted lines. Okay, there you go. And we know the amplitude is 2, so we've got to go up 2. So that'll be at 3. Okay, moving along. And then down 2 would be at -1 down here. So we get some space here. Okay. And I think we're ready to rock here. Okay, so starting at -pi, we know it's cosine. Now the midline's at 1, so let's put a little jazz on them. All right, so we know that this is the guy we're going around. All right, and we know that the cosine would usually start up top, right? But since it's negative, we know that it's flipped. So we'll start them right down here. We'll even make them blue. All right, so there's your first spot, and then your first quarter spot would probably be right here. And you're thinking about what the shape of cosine is as you do this. It only asks for it didn't ask for 2 periods or anything. Make sure you get a nice curve on that thing. Okay, so it looks nice. All right, and it's gonna keep going if you want to keep going that way, and maybe a little bit over here, just so it looks a little better. Anyway, you want to make sure you label your points. So that would be what -pi over 2 comma 3. This point here, look at all these points you have to label. -3 pi over 4 comma 1. Okay, this guy's going to be -pi over 4 comma 1. Down here you got a -pi and a -1, and over here you already kind of marked there. So yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, and just remember to distribute that if you see a 2 like that. All right, we get to do another one. Oh, trying to trick me with a good old decimal point. I don't know about that. All right, so whoa, what just happened? All right, so let's just go for it here. So this one looks. So I'm going to say y is equal to 3. Again, I'll remind you guys. So the first thing I would do is say that's a half. So that's x over 2 minus pi over 4. And all I did was take a 1/2 and distribute it to both of these guys. Okay, no shifts up or down, so that's nice. So what do we know about the period? All right, be a little careful here because that's equal to 2 pi divided by b, but in this case b is 1/2, so we're going to get 4 pi here. Amplitude is just the absolute value of 3, which is 3. We know the period is 2 pi, so x over 2 minus pi over 4 is equal to 0, and x over 2 minus pi over 4 is equal to 2 pi. All right, we have to add fractions. I'm sorry. All right, let's just write it like this. Okay. So x over 2 is equal to pi over 4. So x is equal to 2 pi over 4 is pi over 2. X over 2 is equal to 2 pi plus pi over 4. Yeah, so I probably just multiply everything out real quick, or I don't know, I would just do it. So x over 2 is equal to, that's a 4, that's an 8 pi plus pi over 4, and all I did was a common denominator there of 4, and the 4 and the 2 made an 8. X over 2 is equal to 9 pi over 4, so 4x is equal to 18 pi. This is not pretty, so x is equal to 18 pi over 4, or 9 pi over 2. Okay, just looking for an error, because I just guess they're funky numbers, and you got to be careful with this one. So did I do it right? I set it equal to 0. I get my signs right. I did. Okay, that's going to be pi over 2. No error there. Yeah, I mean, it's just a nasty one, I guess. Pi over 2 is a pi over 4 multiplied by a half. Okay, all right. I'm going to keep moving here. I don't see any errors. 4, 8, 9, and 18. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and graph this thing now. You just got to stick to your guns. All right, so here we go. He's starting at pi over 2, and he's ending at 9 pi over 2. So I'll be working on the right side of our planes. That'll be x, that'll be y. All right, you just have to, just cut it up right. So, how far away is pi over 2? So let's just pretend he's there. That's pi over 2. Way over here, we'll just put 9 pi over 2. And here comes the tricky stuff. So to find the midpoint, you get 9 pi over 2 plus pi over 2, and you divide it by 2. That's the halfway point. So that's 10 pi over 2 is 5 pi over 2. Oh, that's nice. 5 pi over 2. And you can kind of see it. I don't know if you guys see it. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that'd be a 7 pi over 2. 1, 2, 3. And if you can't do it quick like me, you just have to keep dividing up your points. So the next one, to find the 3 pi over 4, you take the pi over 2, you add the 5 pi over 2, and you divide it by 2. 6 pi, right, over 2 is 3 pi over 2, which is 3 pi over 2 multiplied by the reciprocal is 3 pi over 4. So you could do the math that way too. I just kind of eyeballed it. And let's see, amplitude of 3. So we got some good numbers here. We got 0. We got to go up 3. We got to go down 3. So our midline is the x-axis. So maybe we'll give them a little bit of zing. All right, so we know that's the midline. And let's see how this bad boy goes. So we're starting at pi over 2. It's sine, so that'll be your first spot right here. Your second, no flipping, no negatives, right? And just get yourself a nice little sine wave in there. All right, up and whoops, I missed. So it's better to do piece by piece, and then you don't miss as much. Okay, and then boom. Okay, and then you can kind of pretend he goes off to space. Oh no, what happened? Okay, I'm still recording. I'm not starting this video over. It looks like I just had a little bit of a hiccup with my computer. It seems to be doing fine now. We'll see. I'm going to finish. And yeah, so you just have to label your points, okay? So up here, that's going to be what? 3 pi over 4 comma 3. Those guys are fine. Then down here, 7 pi over 2 comma negative 3. All right, there's a negative on that guy. And one more, eliminate the parameter. Still moving forward here. All right. And let's see. Eliminate the parameter. This does not look hard. So x is equal to t plus 4. Y is equal to t squared. So t is equal to what? X minus 4. So y is equal to x minus 4 squared. Oh, watch out. I bet your students are going to choose this one. $1 million, right? X squared minus, oh, I don't know, 8x plus 16. Nice one. I like that one. That's for sure. I think that's it. Okay, let's see if this one worked with that little glitch in there. Good luck tomorrow and the next day on Friday as well.